Classification of zoonoses. The word zoonosis has been derived from the Greek word zoo, means animals, and nosis, means diseases. Zoonotic diseases constitute an unique group of infectious diseases that affect man as well as animals. More than 200 diseases are now recognized as zoonoses. The list is expanding with the availability of better serological techniques for identifying new pathogens of man and animals, and rapid ecological changes taking place across the globe. Though zoonoses can be classified in many ways, the logical and scientific basis of classification of zoonoses are on the basis of etiological agents, that is bacterial, example brucellosis, leptospirosis, listeriosis; viral, example rabies, Japanese encephalitis; rickettsial and chlamydial, example Q fever, scrub typhus, ornithosis; mycotic, example dermatophytosis, cryptococcosis, histoplasmosis; and parasitic, example toxoplasmosis, hydatidosis, visceral larva migrans. Classification based on transmission cycle. This classification has a lot of educational value and is based on the type of life cycle of infective organisms. These are direct zoonosis, cyclozoonosis, metazoonosis, and saprozoonosis. First is direct zoonosis. These zoonotic diseases are perpetuated in nature by a single vertebrate species. Infection is transmitted by direct contact, as in anthrax, or indirectly through food, teniasis, or air, like tuberculosis, etc. If a vector is involved in the transmission, there is no development of pathogen in the vector, that is, the transmission is the mechanical transmission. Example of direct zoonosis is anthrax, rabies, tuberculosis, scabies, etc. Next is cyclozoonosis. These zoonotic diseases require 2 or more vertebrate hosts to complete transmission cycle of an infectious agent. In some diseases, 2 vertebrate species are fixed and the disease is transmitted between 2 species only. Cyclozoonoses are classified into 2 subtypes. First is obligatory cyclozoonosis and second is non-obligatory cyclozoonosis. Obligatory cyclozoonosis. In these diseases, man is must for the completion of life cycle. That is, it is a compulsory host. For example, Taenia solium, Taenia saginata. Non-obligatory cyclozoonosis, where man is accidentally involved in transmission cycle. Many a times, these zoonoses form cul-de-sac, that is dead end in man. Example, hydatidosis, caused by Echinococcus granulosus tapeworm. Metazoonosis. In this, both vertebrate and invertebrate species are involved in the transmission of an infectious agent. In invertebrate host, infectious agent may multiply, develop, or remain dormant. Metazoonosis have been further divided into 4 subgroups depending on the number of vertebrates or invertebrates involved in the perpetuation of the cycle. Metazoonosis type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4. In type 1, 1 vertebrate and 1 invertebrate host is required to complete the cycle, for example, in yellow fever and plague. In case of metazoonosis type 2, 1 vertebrate and 2 invertebrate hosts are required to complete the cycle, for example, is paragoniasis. In type 3, 2 vertebrate and 1 invertebrate hosts are required to complete the cycle, as in case of clonorchiasis. In case of metazoonosis type 4, transovariant transmission takes place, for example, tick-borne encephalitis. Saprozoonosis. These zoonotic diseases require an inanimate substance for completion of life cycle in addition to vertebrate or invertebrate host. An infectious agent may multiply, develop, or propagate in an inanimate site. Inanimate site may serve as a reservoir or source of an infectious agent, and these include soil, food, clothing, water, grass, or plants. It is divided further into three types: saproanthropozoonosis, saproamphixinosis, saprometanthropozoonosis. Saproanthropozoonosis. These diseases of animals are transmitted to human beings via inanimate substance. For example, cutaneous larva migrants. Saproamphixinosis. These diseases are usually shared in nature by man and animals, but are transmitted through inanimate objects, as in case of histoplasmosis and fungal infections. Saprometanthropozoonosis. These diseases require vertebrate host, invertebrate host, and inanimate object for completion of transmission cycle. Example: Fascioliasis. Classification based on reservoir host, irrespective of whether they are lower vertebrates or man. First is anthracnozoonosis. These are the diseases of domestic and wild animals which occur in nature independent of man. Human beings get infected from animals in unusual circumstances through occupational contact of food. In many cases, infected human is a cul-de-sac, that is, the dead-end host. Sociocultural barriers may influence the transmission of these zoonoses rather than biological barriers. Example: leptospirosis, tularemia, Rift Valley fever, hydatidosis, or rabies, etc. Zoonoses. These are diseases which are normally passed from man to other vertebrate animals. Example: tuberculosis of human type, amoebiasis or diphtheria of human type. Amphixinosis. These are ubiquitous diseases for which man as well as vertebrate animals act as host. The agent can pass from man to animal and animal to man. The infection can persist in human population independent of animals and vice versa. Example: streptococcosis, non-host specific salmonellosis, or staphylococcosis. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe the channel.